off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Streaker, Speaker, and more. I am your hashtag positively opinionated host, warning you right now, if you're looking for the headlines and what everybody else is talking about, you're not going to get it here, because I need to balance out all the bad news out there. 99% of it is something to make you say, what's wrong with people? And is the world going to hell in a handbasket? But on this show, we talk about problems, but we talk about solutions. And I've been doing this for the past 658 consecutive weeks. This is podcast show number 1288. And I'm so glad that you're here. And as you can tell, there's a good looking guy in my co-host spot today. In fact, it is Straight Talk with
James Hawthorn.
And yours truly.
Dr. Marissa.
Welcome back. I haven't seen you in a bit. We've done a couple of changes to manage people's schedules, especially mine. And so now Straight Talk has moved to Fridays, and I'm glad that you're here with us. It's probably a little more appropriate for Friday, only because I get sometimes a wee bit naughty, and we want to bring you into the weekend in the best possible naughty way. And that's why it's now on Friday. And then James, you know, he's an actor as well as a trainer, and his schedule, doing gigs, and my former Friday co-host on Hollywood Rebel Report, Ricky Rebel, is also on tour traveling. So it made sense for them to split up Straight Talk. So I get two fabulous guys every Friday. James will be on every second and fourth, Ricky on first and third. So, you know, this is just the best case scenario for me. And so I want to welcome back James Hawthorn. And in order,
great to be back.
It is absolutely great to have you back again. We're going to catch up using my breakfast exercise, which is taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich every weekday morning. We start this way. Top of the bun is things that you are grateful for outside of yourself, the world around you, the people around you, specifically as possible. The bottom of the bun, because I do like it on the bottom, is gratitude turned inwards. In words, not in words. And that is what do you like about yourself? So appreciation is the topic for the bottom of the bun. So we go through this at the top of my show every weekday morning. So do it with me so that you can start your day in the most positive way. So we'll start with you. We haven't caught up. The best thing about this show is I get to keep in touch with people that I love in my life and get to know what's going on. So what are you grateful for, James?
I'll tell you what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for the fact that we get to do this because, you know, people will have a coffee date and they'll just they'll complain, they'll vent, they'll talk about everything that's wrong in their life. So this is kind of cool. We get a chance to sort of set an example of catching up over the good things. And imagine if we did that with all of our social get-togethers and hangouts. And I'll get right into dating advice. Probably not a good idea to go on a date and talk about all the things that you're upset about and to have a complaining venting fest on a date, by the way. So this is a good exercise that would probably help you in dating too. I'm just going to go out on a limb and venture to say that your date doesn't want to hear about everything that's wrong in your life. I am grateful for these two casting directors that have become friends of mine, and They got me some great gigs for this week for Sunday and Tuesday that I'm very excited to play. Going to have a short little turn on Days of Our Lives. I love working on that show
Oh, yay.
on Tuesday. And then I'm helping another casting director with a really fun film on Sunday where I play an investigative journalist, which is always something I've wanted to play. Very excited to do that and get the footage and be able to post that in the coming time. So it's nice to be positively remembered by friends in the business and get opportunities to do what I love. So I am grateful for that.
Awesome. I'm just putting a story up telling people that we're live right now. And I am grateful that it's this is definitely a labor of love, and 658 consecutive weeks is nothing to well, it's something to laugh at. People go, this is like a full-time job, but you have like 7 other jobs. I fly out. Oh, I'm grateful that I get to fly out to Denver tomorrow to speak. I get to speak at Unity Denver on Sunday. And I'm grateful that that came out of this show. Remember the guy that we had a little bit of technical difficulties that was
the travel,
travel guy.
about all the great things that Denver has to offer. And having lived there 2.5 years myself, he is not lying. Although you're a brave soul going there in the middle of December. But the wacky thing about Denver is that even in December, it could be 60 degrees and sunny, or it could be 10 degrees and snow a foot. I am really sending 60-degree sunny vibes your way for a smooth and easy trip.
Well, I was born in Canada.
Ah, yeah.
So
So you're ready.
This is going to be nothing. And I won't be able to go back to Toronto, which I usually do at Christmas time. So this will be my substitute. But I'm really grateful that because of this show, I was so impressed with what I saw with the Mile High Tree, the lights, the drone light show, the train ride from from Denver Airport to
The heart of
downtown.
It's so easy. I did that this summer. I mean, God, I can't wait till LAX gets their train station. It's going to help so many people get there, and it's going to help the rest of us not sit in traffic on pickups and drop-offs.
Yeah. And so I'm super happy about that. I get a chance to do that. I set the intention. I went, oh, that's not on my bathtub list, which is bigger than a bucket list. And I'm going to have to think about that. And then boom, guess what? I'm going and, financing the trip with the talk. And I'm just so grateful that I because of this show, I get to do things that I didn't even know I wanted to do. How's that? I'm
Well, look at you manifesting. I always like to joke with my gay friends, like, what would your drag queen name be? Like, you got to come up with something really creative. Yours, I think, would just be Miss Manifest. I could see that with like a big boa and you on stage being like, hi, darlings. But then again, you'd have to be a man playing women. But anyway, Miss Manifest in the house.
I like it. I like it. I'll take it. What are you grateful for, James?
I'm grateful for people actually doing their jobs. In October, I booked a gig, and it was a really nice payday for a lot of physical sacrifice. I had to do like 200 belly flops into a pool to get the perfect shot for this pharmaceutical company.
I remember that.
And it was a $5,000. I don't care about talking numbers or what I make. People get funny about that. I could care less. It was a $5,000 job for a day of work, which is great. That just doesn't happen, in the acting commercial world. So it was really good. But the payroll system had it so that, I was getting, they had me on a weekly interval. So for tax purposes, it looked like I was making $250K a year. I make far, far, far below that. So they took a huge bite out of my butt. So I only got paid like $3,100. So I raised the issue. It took like 25 emails and 4 people to resolve it. But it looks like I'll be getting a refund check of an extra $1,000. Merry Christmas to me. I am grateful for everybody that was on that email thread. They all worked together. They did everything in their power to make sure that it got rectified. And normally something like that, most of the time I found, it's like pulling teeth to get that fixed. They're like, not my problem, not my problem. And everyone was like, they made it their problem, their responsibility to help each other figure out what steps needed to be done to rectify it. And just something like that. You're like, well, it's their job. Of course you're supposed to do it. I don't take that for granted because a lot of people don't do that. They do the bare minimum. So I was really blown away by everybody working together to help me out and get paid what I was owed. I'm truly grateful. I can feel the gratitude on this one, especially going into Christmas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to have to find their names and numbers because I got a third big chunk out of mine for when I taught at UCLA too. But
There you
apparently
go.
I can get it back from the government before things get taken over. But
Right.
I will look forward to that refund. Normally I because when you're self-employed. But anyways, I don't want to talk about that. I am grateful that I got a piano from my younger daughter for Christmas. And it's 4
Oh.
hours later, I put it together. I don't know. It's either a commercial for I do need a man or I don't need a man because I did put it together. Did not take me took me a long time. But anyways, I'm grateful that I now have a piano for Christmas that I get to play on. I sold my grand when I moved to this ocean view high rise that could not fit a grand piano. So I'm happy about that. All right, let's go to the bottom of the bun, which is what do you like about yourself? And this is let's see, it's weightlifting. I am definitely one of the, I am so happy that we're focused on mental health now, but I'm not happy that a lot of us are looking for love in the wrong places. We're picking up stuff to feel better. That's just a temporary fix. And it's my BS, my belief system, that if you care about yourself, love yourself, can soothe yourself, that is the foundation of mental health. So ergo, the bottom of the bun is, what do I like about myself? And all of my co-hosts, James included, weren't necessarily, they're good at the gratitude on the top of the bun, but the bottom of the bun, because we're not taught to toot your own horn. We're not taught to really be good with ourselves. And now James really likes it, as well as all the rest of my co-hosts. So I'm going to let him start. James, what do you like about yourself?
I like that I can juggle a lot of different things at once because, living the life of a fully self-employed freelance actor, trainer, whatever, I have to wear a lot of hats in a single day. And, there were times when that used to really stress me out and getting good at that. I am glad that I have gotten good at it. And it's a point of pride for me that I can roll with the punches, adapt, be flexible, because it gives me a better attitude in life towards handling other people's, I don't want to say shortcomings, but maybe character quirks that I used to maybe find annoying or not know how to navigate without getting frustrated. I have a lot more patience and empathy for people's quirks and intricacies that would initially clash with me. And now I just am able to fit it in so that we get along well. And it's like water off a duck's back. So I like that I have developed that skill set. And it's a 2-for-1. I'm grateful that I have figured out how to translate that to not just managing the logistics of life, but being able to employ that in my relationships with people.
Fantastic. I appreciate that I am continuing to get comfortable with myself. Same theme, my quirkiness, the date. Remember I told you after 853 matches swiping, I've had 25 first dates, 2 second dates, 1 third date, 1 fourth date. I didn't go on the 5th date. It didn't happen. And, lovely guy. And he said, when they made you, they definitely broke the mold. You are like the most interesting person I've ever met, which is great. And I know that I am not your average anything, and getting okay with that, because for when I grew up, I just wanted to be normal. I just wanted to be the girl next door. I just wanted to, and now I've become 88% comfortable with I am a lot and it's okay. And I am direct and it's okay. And I'm not everybody's enchilada and that's okay. But I know what value I have, and I'm happy with myself 88% of the time. So I think that is, I've never been as good with myself as I am at this. Ooh, I'm getting chills right now. Like I really do love myself, and I'm grateful and appreciative that I can really embody self-love in this way. So I'm just happy about that.
I have to edify that. I think it is so important for everybody to be okay with not being everybody's cup of tea. Like you just have to accept that. Like that's just human nature. You could be, look, Gandhi, Mother Teresa. I'm sure there were some people that really didn't like them very much, which is crazy to think about. But you know, it's just vibes, man. It's vibes. I'm sounding Big Lebowski here. Dude, I just don't like your vibes, man. But no, seriously. You said that you're a lot, but you know what? Sometimes a little is better than nada, and sometimes you want the whole enchilada. So there are people out there that want, you know, every bit of the vaciousness and fullness and everythingness that you are. My mom is a lot in her dating life post marriage to my father. You know, there were guys that were right for her and guys that just plain old couldn't keep up, and that's okay.
Or keep it up.
Yeah, true. After all, my mom is in her 70s now, and how dare you talk about that in relationship to my mom's dating life? I need therapy now. Oh God.
Sorry, I couldn't
I'm
resist.
kidding. I'm teasing you. But yes. Point being is it's step one to, and it's a big step to be able to love yourself, but that's tested when you have to deal with some form of rejection. But you can't look at it as, you know, that rejection as being a reflection of any kind of inadequacy on your part, because it's not. It's just that's life. You know, not everyone's going to like you, and you got to be all right with that. And it's so, I'd rather go down swinging, meaning I'd rather go down being my authentic self than trying to mold myself or be something to be liked. I'd rather be me and then figure out exactly who likes me for me and who doesn't, and just keep moving along.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great way to end breakfast with Dr. Marissa and
the extra chatty James Hawthorn today.
Yeah. What did you have? 2 cups of coffee this morning?
Well, I tell you, I think I overdid it. I woke up really tired today, so I poured myself some coffee, not tea, coffee. And I brought a Celsius onto the show, and I've been sipping on both. I think I overdid it.
That explains it, because our breakfast just ran over, but we're glad that you joined us, and I'm hoping that you'll continue this good life habit, this hashtag Blisscipline, for the next 28 consecutive days, with or without me, so that you sandwich your day in the most positive way. Thanks for joining us for breakfast. And before I announce the topic of the day, or before James does, I am going to ask you to stay on after we're done talking about pleasure. I do have a public service interview with Dr. Mary Rogers, who's going to help us stay more healthy from COVID and any other infectious diseases. She has a PhD from Harvard, a postdoc from USC. So she's got a lot to say, and we're going to hear from her at the end of this show. But before we do that, it is time for the topic of the day. Where is this now? Everything is awesome. I don't know if I showed you this. I actually won this at Dave & Buster's on my fourth date. It was the 3rd or 4th date. But anyways, that's my new announcer.
Not
But
only do you get great dating advice on the show, we have really invested in our side effects soundboard prop. We have nothing but the highest level sound effects to enhance your listening enjoyment.
yes, James, thank you for that reinforcement. What is the topic of the day that I actually chose, but he's going to announce?
Speaking of enjoyment, that's a very pleasurable sensation. We're going to talk about pleasure in all of its forms today. So this could branch off in a lot of different directions. I have a feeling that we might really hone in on something today, and we might revisit this topic of pleasure, because who doesn't want to talk about pleasure? I know we sure do.
Yes, and I will jump in. Why I picked this topic is because I believe that pleasure gets a bad rap, that many people are embarrassed or don't want to talk about it because they grew up very religious. And religion, I believe, has taken something that is part of being human. It's an incredible part of being human. The feeling that you get from pleasure is unlike any other. It transcends the bedroom. I believe that there's so many ways in which you can feel and experience and enjoy pleasure that we kind of have missed. And I know that I'm on a personal vendetta against anything that says pleasure is wrong or bad or dirty or sin. That is bullshit-talky, and I get quite hot under the collar and hot everywhere else too when someone says something about me not talking about pleasure. And so I actually had a series when I was on once a week, every last week of the month, called Sexual Healing with Dr. Marssa. Now, obviously, that form of pleasure, I hit that right on in the spot because I know personally that because it wasn't allowed to talk about or to feel into literally, I developed some very poor practices and or lack of practices in even enhancing the pleasure in my life. So that's why I did that. And now that I'm at every weekday morning, I don't have that series anymore, but I like to think that my Straight Talk series can address those. So that's why. James.
Yes. I think that is very important. And pleasure, like, there's all different forms. I think you want to, even just being in someone else's presence, it should be like, it should feel pleasurable. And so we're not just talking about the physical in the bedroom. I think it can be a really good indication that you're with somebody that there's potential with, where it's just if everything is pleasant when you're with that person, I would say that it's a pleasurable experience. When you're with, like the right person, where it's pleasurable, it's like the air smells a little better, things look a little more beautiful, like everything is just elevated. And I think it's so important for us to tune in to when we're experiencing, pleasure, because it can tell us a lot about compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because of that programming, that wiring that we've received, we're somehow taught to, like you said, feel guilty about it, to almost tune it out so that we can stay focused, whatever that is. But maybe we should focus on what we're feeling in the moment and hope that it's pleasure more often than not, 88% of the time, or some version of pleasure. Because it's not just, a momentary physical feeling. Sometimes pleasure can come from a deep, meaningful, like, satisfaction that you get from having built a beautiful relationship. And that's like a It's like a warm, soft glow instead of a raging fire. Sometimes when you're in
Mhm.
the throes of passion, the pleasure is a raging fire, but sometimes just the contentment of walking down the beach with someone that you've loved for 20 years and holding their hand, not speaking from experience here, but hope to one day, that, just imagining that it's like a warm, soft
Mhm.
glow. So the
Yeah.
more that we can actually pursue and seek pleasure through healthy means, I think it is a beeline to happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. To I look at pleasure as delight on steroids. So even delighting in something, we're so wired, especially in this country. The only access we have to emotion is to be pissed off, irritated, frustrated, complaining about whatever's going on. And I'm here to balance that out with that's why we do the gratitude sandwich. What delights us? And if I expand or grow or magnify because I like it big.
Mhm.
The whole concept of delight and pleasure, it's not just the in the bedroom orgasmic experience. If I look at pleasure in the purest form of pleasure, it hits every single sense. And I think this is the part we're so used to just using the cerebral to think about pleasure, ergo bedroom orgasm, whatever that is, lust, porn, all the negative things that are associated word association with pleasure. For me, pleasure is taste, the deliciousness of life. You'll see my posts on Doc Balance on Instagram, everywhere else. I am one with my food because I have pleasure from the taste of food. I have pleasure from the touch of really soft fabric or, cute puppy dogs or whatever that tactile thing is. So I've got the taste, the tactile, right? The smell, the delicious aroma, standing behind a KFC or, a bakery, that aroma is pleasurable. So I am on a mission. Can we expand the way we see our lives and quit just judging based on what you think or see, right? What you think, what you see, and expand it to taste, touch, sight, sound, right? Music. What do we love about music? We love music, but we don't even realize that music is turning on the pleasure for our ears as it's translated into our minds and bodies and souls and heart. I'm like so in this right now. I'm feeling pleasure talking about the ways in which we can feel pleasure in our lives. And sweetheart, this is like a real fast track into happiness. If you can be one with the things and identify and focus on those things that give you pleasure, not looking out there, what can you generate in the way you're looking at something, in the way you're touching something, in the way you're tasting something or someone, the way that you're smelling something or someone. Those are all the ways in which life is magnified, babe. Sorry.
And that's
I
wonderful.
just
I
I
mean,
just
by
dropped the moose mic.
now you see, props, sound effects, we are upping our game here at Straight Talk. By tuning into pleasure and becoming aware of it rather than it being something that we feel guilty about or need to avoid so we could stay focused, whatever it might be. By tuning into pleasure, we can learn a lot of other things about ourselves. Think of it almost like a meditation. With meditating, right, we're becoming aware of our thoughts rather than letting our thoughts grab the steering wheel and drive us in this direction and that direction. Meditation allows you to become aware of your thoughts. You can meditate on any aspect of being human. You can literally meditate on pleasure by just being aware of it and actually making it a focal point and observe, other things about yourself when you're experiencing pleasure. And like I said at the top of this topic, that can tell you a lot about how you feel about your partner. Um, and in contrast, if you feel a sense of anxiety or you have to psych yourself up to go to see, that individual, what does that say about how you feel about them? So by paying attention to those kinds of feelings, pleasure and its antagonist, even its opposites, you can learn a lot about how you feel about a person that's outside of the intellectual. So sometimes, the best way to discover how you're feeling about an individual isn't to intellectualize it and to think about it. It's better to work your way in through your feelings. So becoming aware of what you're feeling, I think, is incredibly healthy. And, pleasure is one of the best feelings, right? But I think it's a really important way in to help your development in relationship and honestly understand how you feel about your partner. And it's a good jumping off point for improvement, for discussion with that partner. So yes, meditate on pleasure, meditate on all the different feelings that you're feeling. If you're an anxious person, meditate on what brings on that anxiety. And that can help you not be a victim of the negative feelings, and it can help you achieve the more positive feelings more often.
Yeah, I just asked my assistant Google to find pleasure, and it's interesting. All the definitions have nothing to do with that dark side, except for the name of the film. It's a film about porn. But if you look at the definition, happy satisfaction and enjoyment, right? The full meaning, gratification, delight, right? Worldly or frivolous enjoyment. That's from religious roots. The pursuit of pleasure, recreation or amusement, diversion, enjoyment. So it's such. I'm bringing it into the use, the daily use. I'm no longer going to feel or be shamed around the word pleasure. And I hope that you take this Friday the 13th as your day to bring pleasure back into your daily dictionary, at least in the experience of it. And it doesn't have to happen in the bedroom. I'm not talking about hall sex. Do you know what hall sex is?
Like where you sneak out into the hall because you're in the throes of passion, so you sneak out. It reminds me of like a high school torrid love affair.
Nope, it's when you pass each other in the hall and go, fork you. Sorry, but I haven't used that joke in a long time. But yes, and I'm so glad that we talked about this. I'm so glad that I'm adding this to my Happy 88 mission, that pleasure is going to be in the top billing for at least a month when I talk about happiness. Maybe not at Unity Denver on Sunday, but definitely there. We're going to go on a quick break for news, weather, and traffic. When we come back, James is going to give a little commercial about the services he offers. No, not that kind of service and pleasure, but the things.
It is Friday, though.
It is Friday. It is. What, you turn into a gigolo on Fridays? Is that what you're telling me?
Hey, I told you I'm freelance. I do whatever it takes to pay them bills, girl.
I have a story about that, about my girlfriend. Anyways, go ahead. No, we're going to come right back. We need to take a station ID. And when we come back, James, commercial, more talk about pleasure, and then a public service interview with Dr. Mary Abbott. We'll be right back. Oh, not Mary Abbott, from Abbott. All right.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
Hi, everybody. I guess that means that we are back from traffic and weather. And so on the last show I did, I talked about a free resolution fitness challenge. Based on the notion that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So rather than making the same resolution every year, which is lose weight, get in shape, get healthy, go into the holidays with that as your focus. And to that end, I offered 3 listeners of this show 50% off my personal training rates that they started before the end of the new year. 2 people have taken me up on that, which is wonderful. And I have 1 more spot left at those rates. I am really eager to help somebody that wants to get out ahead of it. We are in the throes of the holiday season. And speaking of pleasure today, it's so easy to raid the cookie table, and a little pleasure is a good thing, but not completely unchecked. So if you're somebody that wants to save that resolution for something else in your life, and you want to start building those healthy habits now, I would absolutely love to work with you. And let's take on the pre-resolution challenge together and develop healthy habits for the holidays and beyond. So thank you, Dr. Marssa, for the chance to offer those services.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show, every weekday morning on KCAA, NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah, #1 talk in the IE. Thank you very much. And the station that leaves no listener behind. And we are on AM 1050, FM 106.5, streaming everywhere, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course my YouTube TV channel, where you can not only listen, but watch as well. That is a free subscribe there. You'll also get access to my red carpet playlist with fabulous interviews with Halle Berry, John Travolta, Quincy Jones. If you watched Jamie Foxx's new little thing on Netflix, it was so great. So grateful that he's back. That's it. I don't want to do a spoiler alert about what happened, but do watch that. But he has this wonderful little segment on Halle Berry, and I'm so grateful that I actually got to meet her and invalidate all of the negative press that she sometimes gets, and she's an amazing person. And so that is something you can access on my free subscribe YouTube channel. James Hawthorn just gave you a commercial on his services, not in pleasure, although maybe you can negotiate, but definitely his services as a trainer. And how did they get in touch with you?
Yes, thank you. I did forget to say that. The best way to reach me for the listeners of this show is just send me a direct message on Instagram. The handle is @ActionManFitness. So all one word, Action Man Fitness. That's the best way to reach out. And I will say this, since we're talking about pleasure today, sometimes the process of getting to a place where you can enjoy your body, your physicalness, your best version of yourself, sometimes the process isn't so pleasurable. So not all pleasure is instant gratification. So sometimes the process is sweaty, it's uncomfortable to get to that place where you're your healthiest self. But on the flip side of that, you get to enjoy every moment of your life when you're healthier. So not all pleasure is instant, if I might say so. It goes along with that saying that a lot of people miss opportunities in their life because they're dressed in overalls and look like hard work. So sometimes your greatest opportunity is through a challenge. And then there are other people that seek that kind of stuff and pay $100, $200 to go do a Tough Mudder or Spartan race. And they say, I want to crawl through mud so I don't get electrocuted on my back. I want to climb over 30-foot obstacles and do it over a 10-mile race. Because as soon as you cross that finish line, there's the pleasure. So it might not be instant, but if you can get through that, sometimes you have a sense of satisfaction and accomplishment that gives you that pleasure. So I'm going to play just one moment of devil's advocate and say that it's not pleasure at all costs. We have to balance it out and know that sometimes the greatest pleasure lies on the other side of a little bit of struggle. So don't be attached necessarily to instant gratification in your pursuit of all wonderful forms of pleasure.
Yes, definitely. It is all about balance. And It's funny. Americans have this, many Americans, not all, but it's called Newtonian thinking, which the good news about it, it problem solving, you're looking for solutions. The bad news is you go to the extreme. So as soon as I say, pleasure, someone who's raised in that background that I was talking about goes to, oh my goodness, what would the world be like if everybody just had pleasure on their mind, body all the time, and that's all they're doing? That's selfish, that's terrible, and that's why we have the chaos. Bullshit hockey. The pleasure that we're expanding and I'm talking about is on all levels. We're not talking about everybody walking around looking who can they, be a dog with, or, all about lust. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about adding pleasure and balancing pleasure, as James was saying, with it isn't all hard work. It isn't all sacrifice. It isn't all instant pleasure. You can have long-term pleasure. You can have the practice of pleasure, which isn't staying in your bedroom all the time. It is just heightening your ability to appreciate. And as I said earlier, delight on steroids. How many of us we wake up and the first thing we do is MS, meaningless scrolling, looking for something to catch our attention. Most often it's negative. Most often it's, that's if it bleeds, it leads. How many of us just stop and go, I feel good right now because, and just start there instead of what's wrong, instead of looking for something to make us feel good. Why can't we just feel pleasure in and of being alive? How many people stop every time someone says, how are you? I say, I'm happy. And they stop and they're like, huh? I've never heard anybody say that. And I can't wait for the day when it doesn't surprise people. When people go, I'm happy too, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, that's the kind of pleasure that's truly meaningful. A lot of times when people are scrolling on Instagram looking for that quick hit, they're looking at thirst traps. They're looking at all these hot, beautiful, sexy people, and you get a pang of sexual horniness, right? And that's not the kind of pleasure that brings you satisfaction. So, you want your pleasure to last. So, the meaningful pleasure requires a little bit of hard work, doing the gratitude exercise, the appreciation exercise. It's not easy. Initially, for me, it felt like pulling teeth, but it is a source of lasting pleasure. So it's not instant gratification and pleasure at all costs. It's find the pleasure that fuels you and sustains you for when life throws you those times when you have to deal with dissatisfaction and struggle, because that's part of it too. And when I say pleasure at all costs, you don't want to rob yourself of the feelings of sadness or longing or loss, because all of that makes us human. So we don't want to avoid any facet of what it is to be a human being in our pursuit of pleasure. But when we are experiencing pleasure, bathe in it and enjoy it, and don't be quick to jump out of that pleasure pool.
Absolutely great. That was James's final word, and it was perfect wrap up of our topic of pleasure. I'm so delighted to be able to bring you now an interview. It is a public service health interview with Dr. Mary Rogers, and she is the principal scientist and virus hunter in Abbott's diagnostic business. She manages research from the Abbott Pandemic Defense Coalition, the first industry-led global scientific and public health partnership dedicated to the early detection and rapid response to future pandemic threats. As part of the coalition, over 20 sites around the world monitor circulating and emerging pathogens to quickly help detect outbreaks and then work together with health officials to minimize the spread. You'll remember I had Dr. Alma Khan on, and she said one of the reasons why we were able to contain and have response in COVID is because none of that red tape of who discovered what. We had absolute cooperation around the world with scientists and medical scientists, which I am so grateful for. Thank you, James, for joining us for Straight Talk this morning. I'm going to let you go do your work, and we're going to close out with this great interview. But I'll see you in a couple weeks, James. And
Look forward to
good luck
seeing
with
everybody after Christmas. Have the most wonderful holiday, everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you, James.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. And now the interview with Dr. Mary Rogers. Welcome back. This is Dr. Marissa reporting live here from my living room on Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show on KCAA, NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course my YouTube TV channel. And you know I like to balance out bad news with good news, and today is no exception. The holidays are around. We've been talking about happy holiday blues and holidays about spreading joy, but it's also a time when celebrating with friends and family can get us sick. Joining us today to share tips for staying healthy during the holidays is Dr. Mary Rogers, a PhD who is a researcher and virus hunter. Dr. Rogers is here today to share important information about using testing as a tool to prevent spreading disease and providing peace of mind. Please welcome to my studio, Dr. Mary Rogers. Welcome.
Pleasure to be here, Dr. Marissa. Thank you.
Let me give you a little. Had to get to that applause button. So tell me, Dr. Rogers, what are some tips for staying healthy for the holidays?
Well, no one wants to miss a holiday party this season, so it's important to take care of yourself and make sure you stay healthy. Some of the common sense things we can do include washing your hands often. That prevents things from spreading. And another thing is to not share drinks with people. I know it's really tempting to finish off the rest of that hot chocolate that your kid's going to dump out. But that's one way that you can get sick. So try and avoid that. And of course, if you know someone is sick, then you should probably avoid them so that you don't get it too. But even with all these precautions, I realize sometimes people are still going to get sick. And if you start to feel some symptoms, it's important to add testing into your routine right away, so that you can understand whether or not you can get treatment and get better faster or not. So a lot of people are readily able to do rapid testing at home. So people are more familiar now with doing Abbott's Binax Now test for COVID in their home. But what a lot of people don't realize is that you can also do rapid testing at a pharmacy or at an urgent care setting with Abbott's ID Now test, which can test for not just COVID, but you can also get a test for influenza, for strep, and for RSV, which they all kind of have similar symptoms. So it helps to have a test result quickly that can help you understand what's making you sick. And if you need some medication, then you can start that sooner once you have that test result.
So that's great. How does the rapid diagnostic testing work?
It's very simple to do rapid testing. So you basically take a swab and you can put it in your nose or your throat, depending on the test. And then the swab goes directly into the test. And 15 minutes later, you have your results. So that's a matter of minutes that you can have an accurate result that you can take action on if you need to. I know that especially for myself, usually if I'm starting to feel sick, I want to know how serious it is. And so having something readily available that can be done quickly is really important.
Absolutely. Now, when does it make sense to take a rapid test versus going to the doctor?
That is the age-old question. It's really hard to know. So it's important as soon as you start to feel sick to connect with your healthcare provider so they can give you that guidance. But either way, you're going to need a test result to be able to know what to do next. And so having a test result, whether it's done in your home, a pharmacy, or a doctor's office, will help you with those decisions about whether or not you should go on medication and how you can best prevent spreading something to the rest of your household or even the rest of your community. Knowing whether or not you can go to school or go to work or or be around people who might be more vulnerable to some of these illnesses is really important.
Hmm. Now, how can testing help parents with sick kids?
Well, I know I'm living this myself. I have 2 children of my own, and every time they have a cough, I'm terrified. I don't know if this is gonna ruin the whole week or if this is just nothing. There's no way for me to know. So testing is really important, especially for kids, because we're seeing moderate levels of respiratory illnesses across the United States right now. If we wanna keep that from going to high, we have to make sure that kids are not spreading these illnesses in schools. So beyond getting a test result to know whether or not your child needs to go on treatment, it's also important to know whether or not they should be around other kids or whether or not they should be, out there with their family members who might also be vulnerable.
Hmm. Any other advice for keeping people healthy for the holidays?
Prevention is really important. If you can take better care of your overall health, you're better prepared if you do happen to be exposed to something that could make you sick. And so taking care of yourself is important, but also if you start to feel something coming on, don't hesitate. These tests are widely available and you can get an answer very quickly so you can go on about your day.
Hmm. So it's probably a good idea to have them handy just in case during the holidays. And where can we go for more?
Yeah,
Oops, sorry. There is a little bit of a delay here. So not used
sorry.
to that. But go ahead.
Yeah, so it's a good idea to have some of the home tests on hand so that if you're feeling sick and you don't really actually want to go anywhere, you already have one in your medicine cabinet.
Absolutely. And where can we go for more information?
If you want to find out more, you can go to our website, which is rapidtest.abbott, ABBOTT.
Fabulous. Well, Dr. Mary Rogers, it's been great having you help us be happier for the holidays. And one more time, you can go to, for more information, that's www.abbott, A-B-O-T-T, if I got that right? Yeah, A-B-O-T-T.
No, it's
Oops.
rapidtest.abbott, ABBOTT.
Thank you for repeating that. I got to get used to this delay here, but rapid testing Abbott is where you go to get more information. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Mary Rogers, for coming in first time to my studio. And I wish you the happiest of holidays yourself. And let's all stay
You
healthy.
too. Stay well, Dr. Marissa.
Thank you so much. All right, that was Dr. Mary Rogers, who provided an important public service health interview for me, announcement, extended announcement, and I'm hoping that you will stay very, very healthy, very, very safe, no illness, no spreading illness. I really enjoy being able to see smiles without the mask. So let's just keep all of us healthy this holiday season, which is my favorite holiday because obviously it is about joy. I am addicted to joy, and I am so grateful that you were here to talk about pleasure with myself and James Hawthorn earlier. If you missed any part of that, a very illuminating talk, at least in my mind, and how I connected with my own pleasure spot in talking about pleasure. No, it wasn't like that, but the absolute ability to feel pleasure every single day, and that it is not only limited to what the dark side of pleasure, I'll call it. There's so much about pleasure that is delightful and part of our happiness and enjoyment of being alive. So that's what I wanted to do today. Hopefully I accomplished the mission of pleasure and adopting pleasure. And today, Friday the 13th, or whatever day it is, You will no longer be limited to the dark side of pleasure, but that you will experience pleasure in every single aspect of your life. And that's my final word here on Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind. NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah, #1 talk in the IE. Thank you very much. These 658 consecutive weeks. But who's counting? And now, as usual, it's all about balance. Peace in, peace out, world. Peace through, inner peace. Now go and have the best weekend ever. We'll see you on Monday. I'll be broadcasting live from Denver, Colorado.